choke job, too. The Knicks had around a 5 point lead with 2:46 to go in the fourth quarter after winning a challenge on a Karl Anthony Towns block of a Trae Young floater. Regardless of that, the Hawks went on to go on to 16-6 run, including a 13-1 stretch, leading to the Knicks' demise 121-116 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. The Knicks will play host of the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday, hopefully to land back at 500. The Knicks lose their fourth game of the season with this one. But regardless, what's going on, everyone? This is Luca here from Knickscast, and I'm coming back at you guys with the recap video. I already stated the score. Knicks lost 121-116. Fourth loss of the season. We'll break into it. I'm going to break down the positives and the negatives. I'm not going to go into each quarter because that would take a little bit. But just the overall perspective of the game, this was really disappointing. There were some positive stats, there were some negative stats, but the positive stats, and I'm going to read into them right now. We're just overwhelmed by the negative stats. And what the Knicks did, they shot themselves in the foot too many times. The offense at times was very stagnant. The defense had a lot of holes in it. But regardless, let's get into it. So, looking at some positive stats, and I'll go positive stats and then positive takes. So, positives, the Knicks shot really well from three. They shot 46% from three, 22 of 47, and from overall from the field, 41 of 84. That's around 48% field goal percentage, and they had 29 assists. Now, you think of the Knicks, they're not a great passing team. That's what the thing with Tibbs overall. They've never been a great passing team. Obviously, the philosophy, I think, will kind of change once this team gets chemistry, or I should say the starting lineup especially. But the Knicks never really ranked that high in terms of assists across the league. And it's one of those outlier games where the Knicks have 29, almost 30 assists. And this is like one of those, and it's why it's so killer why the Knicks lost this game overall. As I mentioned, the positive 3-point statistics, the field goal statistics, and the assist rating. It just makes the loss ever so more disappointing. So, breaking to some of the positive stuff real quick, I'd say the best player overall in terms of offensive and defensive actually came off the bench. I thought that was Deuce McBride. He had a really good bounce back game as opposed to his night in Houston on Monday night. So tonight he scored 16 points. He was a plus 13 on the floor. He did have 3 personal fouls and 3 turnovers, but he also drew up 7 assists and made 1 steal and 1 block. Also shot 4 of 6 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, and 5 of 9 from the field. And I felt as though the Knicks were down a little bit in the first quarter, about 6 to 8 point margins, because of the lackluster defense and some of the shooting on offense was very streaky. So what the Knicks did, they obviously brought in Deuce McBride, and McBride just lit up the game, and he brought the Knicks closer within reach. And what I think was the biggest mistake that Tom Thibodeau could have made tonight was not having Deuce McBride close. Not only was he your most consistent shooter, he was also your most consistent defender and elite defender at that, especially on Trae Young, who really started to heat up, not in terms of just the scoring, but the passing and attacking at the rim to allow the defense to open up and basically clamp down on him to where he could find guys open. So Trae Young was a big part at the end of this game. Fortunately for the Hawks, unfortunately for the Knicks, where Deuce McBride should have stayed on the floor instead of Mikal Bridges returning, who was basically almost a non-factor in the end of this game. So Deuce McBride, you get pretty much a gold star from me tonight, even though it was a loss. So another thing I'd like to point to, and this is kind of what you expect out of Karl Anthony Towns, was his shooting night. He had 34 points, shot 5 of 9 from 3, 11 of 23 from the field, and 7 of 7 from the free throw line. He also recorded 16 rebounds. I think he has officially scored around 5 double-doubles with the Knicks. He had 11 defensive rebounds tonight and 5 offensive rebounds. Obviously, the game is both offensive defensive, so you can't just grade him offensively. That's why I rank him second best as opposed to Miles McBride and what he did on the floor tonight. Also, a really small positive as well in the 9 minutes that he played was Tyler Kolek, 2 of 2 from 3. He also had an assist, plus 2 on the plus minus, and he also had 6 points from those 3-pointers. So with Deuce McBride, Tyler Kolek was really effective off ball, and his off ball shot making really proved well in that second quarter for the Knicks, and that's pretty much all of the minutes he would get. So moving to the negatives, I've wrote down a couple myself. Jalen Brunson, I think, is the top. You also have Josh Hart, rim defense and offensive rebounds. You also have the turnovers, which are a factor out of Cat's out of control drives and Brunson's decision making, but we'll break this down on one. So Jalen Brunson, you could say, has been a disappointment to start the season. It's a matter of, I think, chemistry, and it's a matter of philosophical playing style, because last year Jalen Brunson at least had a shot creator next to him and a secondary playmaker next to him. Now I'm not calling out the trade. You're saying, oh, we shouldn't have traded Julius Randle. Oh, we shouldn't have traded Donnie DiVincenzo. Obviously, we're 7 games in, so it's too early to call for any of this. But just taking some simple takeaways from watching not only the box score, the statistics, but just on the floor in general. So if you look at the stats, Brunson, 21 points. Okay, that's what you expect out of it. 8 of 18 from the floor, 4 of 11 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, and 4 assists. And there was also one pivotal play tonight, I believe it was late in the fourth quarter, where Brunson, I believe, was driving down the lane off the left wing, where he had not only Trae Young, but Clint Capella right on his tail, which Karl Anthony Towns split to the left wing real quick, and Brunson just did not see him. And that, with the way Karl Anthony Towns was shooting tonight, that definitely would have went down. So that was a killer possession. Another killer possession, not so much on Jalen Brunson, but OG Anunoby passing up a wide open wing three to pass to Josh Hart down the lane, which ended up in a Deuce McBride highly contested mid-range jumper that missed. So Brunson overall was a negative defensively. He was a negative offensively. And as I said with the statistics as well, going into just the overall takeaways from the eye test, his shot making and his passing and just getting the offense into their sets way too late. It's just like he doesn't have a feel for the game. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have a feel for the game overall. It's just doesn't have a feel for the game with these teammates. Yes, it's a matter of chemistry, but you could still point it out. Like, Brunson is still too much reliant on the ISO ball. And one of the things I also didn't get with Tom Thibodeau's decision making and the play calling was Brunson getting so many touches in crunch time. Yes, he is your number one option, but if you looked at the game without, the goggles or whatever you want to call it, Karl Anthony Towns was the clear best scoring option the Knicks could have had in the starting lineup and in the game overall to close out this game. If the Knicks give more touches to Towns, I bet probably they win this game. But there were so many other factors that they ended up losing. And I talked about Brunson being a little too selfish. Yes, he's not a selfish player overall, but Brunson has to learn to trust his teammates. Too much ISO ball, too much getting the offense into their sets way too late in the shot clock, causing a lot of miscommunication. And the shot making at times has been poor as well in terms of taking a lot of contested shots. Like, the one positive that I could say out of Jalen Brunson, like the first quarter and the second quarter were poor. Third quarter, when he was on the floor with Jericho Sims, he was being set up for screens in terms of the mid-range game and into the paint, where Brunson was left free. Brunson was knocking down those shots. But when it came to the fourth quarter and the Knicks needed him, was just not there. And that's really disappointing from Jalen Brunson. Another negative as well in terms of the Knicks and how they played tonight, I'd say a little bit, was Josh Hart. He had a very mixed bag game. Now, I shouldn't say the starting lineup is blameless. They're not certainly blameless. But Josh Hart, yes, 14 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. You read the basic statistics. But at times, Josh Hart, he picked up 6 silly personal fouls. Now, the refereeing was pretty iffy tonight. We all know that. Josh Hart also picked up a technical foul after he made a bucket and gestured at the referee. That's not something you need to do. But Hart at times was, and it's not just the offensive perspective, should I say. The defensive perspective, I think, was probably the worst and the most glaring, should I say. Like, at times he was too late to rotate on the corner. Too late at times he was too late to rotate on the wing. And I think he was one of the main reasons, because I believe he was the primary assignment on Zachary Risachet, the Atlanta Hawks rookie tonight. He absolutely cooked the Knicks for 33 points tonight, 6 of 10 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3, 11 of 18 from the field, and Josh Hart was the key assignment on him. So Risachet was cooking Josh Hart, and you expect Josh Hart to have a better game defensively. And unfortunately, that was one of the main reasons that we lost. So another, should I say, reason that the Knicks ended up losing was they had, and this is a mixture of offensive and defensive as well, the Knicks had 15 turnovers, and with the Knicks pace of play that they usually play with, They're usually at the bottom. They don't average a lot of turnovers, which is a good thing. They take care of the ball unusual. But the way the Atlanta Hawks play, they're a little different. They are pretty much polar opposites to the Knicks. They play with a very fast tempo. They're about offense, offense, offense. But Atlanta only turned over the ball 8 times tonight. Knicks had 15 turnovers, which is very uncanny. And also, in terms of the defensive side of the ball, and this goes with Karl Anthony Towns as well, Josh Hart as well, 16 offensive rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks on 55 missed shots, which is a 29.1 offensive rebound percentage. That's pathetic. That's brutal. And that was one of the keys to why the Knicks lost this game. And the paint defense also as well was horrific at times, where Josh Hart would be beat one-on-one on a dribble. Karl Anthony Towns would have to step up, and that would just leave the paint wide open for cuts, backdoor cuts, or just simple lobs. And that's a matter of chemistry, but the Knicks have to do better protecting the paint. And I have a really good feeling that the Knicks are missing both Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa. Hopefully both come back soon because Karl Anthony Towns needs that help defensively. And another thing about those turnovers, as I mentioned, was as I said, 15 turnovers for the Knicks. They usually play very slow, and you see those turnovers really go down. Is two things, as I already mentioned, the Brunson decision making in terms of the shot making, passes, and whatnot, just not having that overall feel. And a big thing, another flaw, should I say, of Karl Anthony Towns' game tonight, not only was the offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds that he could have had, giving the Hawks second chance opportunities, and the rim/paint defense, it was also his out of control drives. And Karl Anthony Towns has never been a great driver in his career. And I'll give Towns this. He plays with a lot of aggression on the offensive side of the ball. But whenever he drives to the rim, he looks like a brick shithouse. And I don't mean that like as an insult. I literally mean that as he's like going tough at the rim. There's no finesse. It's just like he's really trying to pound at the rim. There's no finesse. There's no fluidity with his game driving to the rim. That's one of the benefits you could say would having Julius Randle was. He was a better driver and more efficient creator than Karl Anthony Towns was. Obviously, Towns was brought here to space the floor for the Knicks, and he's done more than that. But that, I think, is one of the flaws that you'll see with Karl Anthony Towns is the rough driving game. Now, he will make shots at the rim, but too many times is he hitting it too hard off the rim or hitting too hard off the backboard where the driving style is just not fluid. So that was also a minus for Karl Anthony Towns' game. Now, if I had to give at least 3 things that I would do from at least this game on, here they are, at least 3. So it's very apparent that the Knicks don't have a secondary creator or ball handler next to Jalen Brunson as opposed to they did last year with Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. So I would start to figure out that Mikal Bridges could be that secondary creator. Now, Towns is more of that floor spacer. Josh Hart's more of the dirty work guy. OG Anunoby's also the floor spacer, but not really suited to be a ball handler. So, in my opinion, if I'm the Knicks, I'm using Bridges as help next to Jalen Brunson. And so number 2 out of my list as well, and I think this goes a little bit beyond this game, and this is the overall health of the team. This is looking at that and looking at the overall ceiling of this team throughout the season, is expanding the lineup a little bit, even when Cam Payne gets back. Obviously, Precious Achiuwa, we don't know when he's coming back yet. He's almost like, I think they said he was back at practice, but he wasn't doing too much. So overall, I would look to expand this lineup because at the end of the day, you do not want this team running on fumes to start the season when you really want the Knicks starting lineup and the bench and the team as a whole to hit their ceiling in April and May when you're trying to compete for a championship. So to lessen the load, ideally, obviously, yes, it's going to be Brunson, Hart, Bridges, or Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, and Towns. Your starting lineup. Okay, fine. Now, as your second unit, in my opinion, it should be Deuce, Kolek, maybe throw in some Cam Payne, maybe see what Matt Ryan can do as well in terms of a lengthy wing defender and another shooter. And obviously, you'll have Jericho Sims. And I don't think Sims played that badly tonight, but I still think he has issues in terms of his focus defensively, him falling behind on plays and his coordination. Obviously, he's a solid screener, so I think that's the one aspect that makes him useful. But overall, Sims is going to be in the rotation at least until Precious Achiuwa gets back. At the end of the day, this was not a pretty Knicks loss. There is no pretty loss. There is no style points for losing. The Knicks lost. They moved to 3-4. Obviously, the sky isn't falling, but there's a lot of disappointing aspects to the team. Some things you might have concerns over, and they're fair concerns. But at the end of the day, we're just 7 games in, and I think at the end of the day, this team will get it figured out with chemistry and all that. So, without further ado, folks, this has been Luca here from Knicks Cast. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on the notification so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Also, as well, share out the YouTube channel to your family, friends, and even pets as a joke. But we are about 26 subscribers away from 100. Let's get there, folks. I appreciate y'all for staying on this video for as long as you have, and I appreciate your constant support for the channel. But without further ado, I bid you all good night. Let's go Knicks.